Hello, everyone. Tonight we're taking a slow, soothing dive into one of the most mysterious and profound places on Earth, the deep sea. Imagine for a moment that you are floating weightless in water so clear and so vast that you can no longer see the shore. The sun, a warm friend you've known your entire life, is now a memory, a distant coin of light glinting far above. You are surrounded by a deep, unending blue, a color that speaks of both peace and immeasurable depth. It's here in this beautiful, sun-drenched surface world that our journey begins. You breathe in deeply, and the air feels crisp, full of salt and promise. Now close your eyes. Let your mind drift gently downward. No need to hold your breath. We'll take it nice and slow. The ocean is wide, the science is strange, and there's no rush at all. You are drifting through the first layer, the epipelagic zone, or as we know it, the sunlight zone. This is the part of the ocean you're most familiar with. It stretches from the surface down to about 200 meters, or about 650 feet. It's where the light still shines strong enough for plants like phytoplankton to perform photosynthesis, converting sunlight into life itself. Most of the fish you know and love live here. The quick silvery flash of a tuna, the graceful arc of a dolphin leaping from the waves, the peaceful pulsating drift of a jellyfish. You've probably gone for a swim here, marveled at the coral reefs, or watched the tide roll in from a sandy beach. It's a world of vibrant color and constant motion, a bustling city of marine life. But this glittering surface, this gentle, familiar world, is just the beginning. It's barely even scratching the surface of what the ocean truly is. As you continue your silent, effortless descent, the light begins to change. The vibrant blues and greens start to fade, swallowed by the sheer volume of water above you. This is where you enter the mesopelagic zone, the twilight zone. Here, from about 200 meters down to 1,000 meters, sunlight still reaches, but it's a dim, ghostly shadow of its former self. It's not strong enough to support photosynthesis, so the world becomes a place of soft, bluish gloom. You can still see your hand in front of your face, but just barely. The creatures that live here have had to adapt to this perpetual dusk with some pretty creative strategies. Many have enormous eyes, built like telescopic lenses to capture every last photon of light. Others, as if to say, if I can't see the light, I'll make my own, begin to glow with a soft, eerie light of their own, a phenomenon we call bioluminescence. It's in this zone that the science starts to feel like magic, and the magic feels like science. This is where things start to get really interesting and really weird, but the journey doesn't stop here. Far, far below, the last flicker of light vanishes. You are now entering the bathypelagic zone, the midnight zone. It's a world of absolute unyielding black. There is no sunlight at all. It is cold, and the pressure is immense, over 100 times what you would feel on the surface. Most of the creatures here are slow-moving, energy-efficient, and either blind or equipped with their own internal lamps. It's a quiet, mysterious place, full of ghostly shapes and drifting shadows. It's a world where every motion is deliberate, every act of survival, a masterpiece of patience. The academic debate among oceanographers about whether life here is truly quiet or simply inaudible to our instruments is a fascinating one. A philosophical question about the nature of noise in the absence of an audience. As you continue your imaginary descent, you pass through a layer so deep, its name comes from the Greek word abyssos, meaning bottomless. This is the abyssopelagic zone, or the abyssal zone. It stretches from about 4,000 meters to 6,000 meters deep. To give you a sense of just how far down that is, it's like stacking 4 Mount Everests on top of each other and then diving to the base. The water is near freezing, the pressure is crushing, and yet life persists. Strange, beautiful alien life. This is a place so remote that it's been mapped in less detail than the surface of Mars. The truth is, we know more about the dust storms on a neighboring planet than we do about the seafloor beneath our own feet. That's a little mind-bending, isn't it? Our own planet's final frontier is right here waiting. And then deeper still, we reach the deepest parts of the sea, the ocean trenches. This is the hadopelagic zone, a name derived from Hades, the Greek god of the underworld. The Mariana Trench, the most famous of these plunges, nearly 11,000 meters below the surface. That's deeper than commercial airplanes cruise above the earth. Very, very few creatures make it down here, but the ones that do are tough, strange, and uniquely adapted to a world without light, warmth, or company. The most famous example is the Hodel snailfish, a pale, ghostly fish with incredibly thin bones that thrives under pressures that would obliterate almost anything else. It's a testament to life's persistence, its sheer refusal to give up no matter how harsh the environment. But why should we care about these dark, distant places? After all, they're not exactly part of our daily lives, unless your daily commute involves a bathyscaphe. Well, for starters, the deep sea plays a vital role in Earth's ecosystems. It helps regulate the global climate by absorbing and storing carbon dioxide. It cycles nutrients that support life throughout the ocean, and it's home to untold biodiversity, some of which may hold medical or technological secrets we've yet to discover. The deep ocean is also a record keeper. Its sediments hold clues about Earth's past climate, ancient ecosystems, and even extinction events. It's a library of natural history, quietly sitting beneath the waves. It's a place of intense challenges. Life here has to contend with high-pressure cold temperatures and complete darkness. There's very little food, and sometimes very little oxygen. And yet, creatures have found ways to survive and even thrive under these extreme conditions. Some of these adaptations are so creative, so alien, that they seem more at home in a science fiction film than on our own planet. Take the barrel-eye fish, for example. This strange little creature has a transparent head, through which you can see its tubular eyes rotating inside like periscopes. Or consider the vampire squid, which can turn itself inside out and emits a bioluminescent display when threatened. The ancient common and yet deeply bizarre horseshoe crab, whose lineage stretches back over 450 million years, shares many traits with these deep-dwelling creatures, from its slow metabolism to its ancient armored body plan. A little-known fact about them is that their copper-based blue blood is so sensitive to bacterial toxins that it's used in modern medicine to test the safety of vaccines. But for all the strange characters, the deep sea is not all serene wonder. It's also a place of crushing physics. Imagine floating weightlessly in the midnight zone, feeling the immense weight of the ocean above you. It's a place where pressure doesn't just mean stress, it means everything. The weight of the water is a constant, and every creature living here has built its entire existence around that single fact. We, as surface dwellers, are built to exist in one atmosphere of pressure. Our lungs, our organs, our very cells are perfectly balanced to handle it. But as you go underwater, something curious happens. Water is heavy, much heavier than air. At just 10 meters below the surface, the pressure is already double what it is up here on land. It's a bit like imagining an elephant delicately balancing on your pinky finger. You're not far off. This kind of pressure is utterly lethal to most land-dwelling creatures. Our lungs would collapse, our organs would rupture, our very cells would burst like overfilled balloons. But down here, this crushing force isn't a disaster. It's simply a way of life. So as you gently drift through these layers, let go of any tension you might be holding. There's nothing here to fear, only to marvel at. The sea is deep, but our curiosity is deeper still. Let the slow, deliberate rhythm of the deep guide your thoughts. The ocean is wide, the science is strange, and we're just getting started. There's a quiet beauty to the fact that so much remains undiscovered right here on our own planet. For centuries, people have told stories of sea monsters and lost cities. But the truth, as it so often is far more wonderful. The real mystery isn't what's hiding down there, but how such strange and beautiful life came to be. It's a question that science and philosophy have wrestled with for generations. And in a place as mysterious as this, the answer feels closer than ever. You continue your gentle, deliberate descent. The silence is not an absence of sound, but a quality of the world itself. It's as if the vast, crushing weight of the water has absorbed all the noise, leaving only a profound and perfect quiet. And as you sink, you begin to feel the pressure. It's not a violent, sudden force. It's a slow, constant embrace, a quiet tightening that presses on every part of your being. This is not the stress of a deadline or the pressure of expectation. This is a fundamental law of physics made real. You are not being crushed. You are simply being held by the ocean. It's a concept that can be difficult to grasp from the comfort of the surface, where our lives are defined by a single unchanging atmosphere of pressure. But down here, the rules are different, and so is the definition of home. To understand this feeling, let's take a little trip back to basics, a gentle dip into the physics of water. On land, we live under the weight of the atmosphere, a blanket of air pressing down on us at about 14.7 pounds per square inch. We don't notice it because we're built to be in perfect balance with it. But water is a different story entirely. It's about 800 times denser than air. This means that for every 10 meters you descend, or about 33 feet, the pressure increases by one entire atmosphere. It's a relentless linear progression. At 100 meters, you're experiencing 11 times the pressure of the surface. At 1,000 meters, it's over 100 times. And at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, you are feeling more than 1 to 100 atmospheres of pressure, a staggering 16,000 pounds per square inch. Imagine the Empire State Building balanced on your thumbnail. That's the kind of force we're talking about. For any shallow water creature, or for us, it would be an instant, catastrophic end. But for the creatures of the deep, it is simply a way of life as natural as breathing. And what a life it is! A little-known fact about life under pressure is that it doesn't just affect the macro level, like the collapse of lungs or the rupture of organs. It changes the very chemistry of life itself. The tiny microscopic workhorses inside every cell, the proteins and enzymes, begin to change shape and stop working properly under intense compression. It's a problem on a cellular level. It's why you might struggle to open a tightly sealed plastic container on an airplane where the pressure has changed. Now imagine your entire existence. Your very survival depends on millions of such tiny containers working perfectly every second. That's what deep-sea animals have mastered. They have evolved pressure-resistant enzymes and membranes which keep functioning smoothly, even under this incredible weight. Their cell membranes contain special fats that remain fluid in the cold and under high pressure, helping maintain critical functions like nutrient transport and energy production. This brings us to a beautiful paradox. Some deep-sea species don't just tolerate pressure, they rely on it. Certain enzymes in these organisms only function properly under high-pressure conditions. If you brought them to the surface, they wouldn't just be uncomfortable, they might not survive at all. This is one of the reasons that studying deep-sea life is so difficult. Many creatures, when brought to the surface in trawls or submersibles, don't survive the journey. The pressure drop can be as dangerous to them as a pressure increase would be to us. It's a fundamental hurdle for scientists, and the academic debate about the most ethical and effective way to study these delicate creatures continues to this day. There are those who advocate for building pressurized laboratories to house them, while others believe that the only way to truly understand them is to study them in situ with cameras and sensors that leave them undisturbed. The history of our understanding of this crushing force is a quiet one, but it's a history of immense courage. For most of human history, the deepest parts of the ocean were a realm of myth and fear. Sailors spoke of sea monsters and abyss dwellers, and for good reason. What little people knew of the deep came from whatever floated to the surface or from the occasional bizarre catch. It wasn't until the 1930s that we began to get a real glimpse. The invention of the bathysphere by William Beebe and Otis Barton marked a historical turning point. In 1934, they descended over 3,000 feet off the coast of Bermuda, peering out through a small window into a world no one had ever seen before. Their descriptions of glowing fish and ghostly shapes sparked the imagination of scientists and the public alike. It was the first time that a human had willingly entered a world of such immense pressure, and it was the first proof that life could and did thrive in such a place, and thrive they do in the most creative of ways. Many deep-sea animals have soft, gelatinous bodies with very few hard parts. Think of the sea pig, a type of deep-sea cucumber that roams the seafloor on little stubby legs, or the graceful drift of a comb jelly. These animals are squishy, and that's exactly what makes them so pressure-resistant. Unlike us, they don't have air pockets or gas-filled swim bladders that would collapse under the weight. This is a crucial adaptation that distinguishes them from most shallow-water fish. It's a simple yet elegant solution to a profound problem. Of course, not all creatures of the deep are soft and squishy. Some have developed their own unique armor. Certain species of deep-dwelling amphipods have incorporated heavy metals into their exoskeletons, some even using aluminum-based armor sourced from the surrounding seawater. That's right, they're literally mining their own protective gear. The Hadal snailfish, which we met briefly in the last chapter, is another marvel of adaptation. Living at depths of over 8,000 meters, it has no scales, no swim bladder, and incredibly thin bones. Its skin is translucent, and its body is nearly gelatinous, and yet it thrives. Scientists studying these fish have found unique proteins in their cells that act like natural antifreeze and pressure stabilizers. If deep-sea life were an Olympic event, the snailfish would be the quiet, unassuming gold medalist. The crushing pressure also dictates a specific kind of lifestyle. Because moving around expends energy and oxygen, both of which are in short supply at depth, many animals are slow, deliberate movers. Some lie in wait for prey to stumble upon them, rather than actively hunting. Others use clever traps like the anglerfish's glowing lure to draw dinner directly to their mouths. In the deep sea, stealth and patience are often better strategies than speed and aggression. It's a philosophy of survival. You wait, you conserve, you become a master of stillness. The academic debate about how this affects the very pace of evolution is a lively one. Do creatures in such a stable, unchanging environment evolve more slowly? Or does the intense and unyielding pressure force them to evolve more efficiently, developing only the most essential and perfect adaptations? It's a question without a simple answer, as the deep sea holds its secrets close. Even the very composition of life is changed by this force. A strange and wonderful detail little known to most is that some deep-sea organisms can have transparent gelatinous bodies to help them cope with pressure and darkness. Think of the ghostly see-through glass squid with its light organs on its eyes and tentacles, or the almost entirely transparent larvae of certain deep-dwelling fish. This transparency isn't just a trick of the light. It's a structural adaptation that makes them almost invisible to predators in the gloom and helps their bodies maintain their form under intense pressure. It's a quiet elegance, a form of biological architecture that only makes sense in a world defined by weight. The pressure of the deep is a paradox. To us, it is a barrier, a destructive force that makes the deep sea a place of danger and mystery. But to the creatures that live there, it is not a threat. It is a constant, a foundation upon which their entire existence is built. They have found a way to not just endure it, but to live with it. They've made peace with it. They've built their lives around it. And in doing so, they have shown us a different way of being, a way of life that is slow, deliberate, and perfectly adapted to its surroundings. So as you continue to drift, let the idea of pressure become something else in your mind. Don't think of it as a weight that is crushing you, but as a hand that is holding you, a presence that is always there, not to harm but to define. It's a quiet, powerful embrace that has shaped some of the most beautiful and strange life on our planet. It reminds us that our definition of normal is just one of many, and that somewhere thousands of meters below the surface, tiny creatures are living their best lives under pressures we can't even imagine, and they're doing just fine. You have now passed into a world where the sun is a distant legend. The last sliver of blue light has been absorbed by the water above, and you are surrounded by an absolute, unyielding blackness. This is the aphotic zone, the zone without light. Here, vision as we know it is often useless. Your eyes, accustomed to the bright and varied spectrum of the surface world, register nothing. It would be easy to imagine this as a realm of utter desolation, an endless void of silence and cold. But you would be wrong. For in this profound darkness, a new kind of light begins to flicker, pulse, and shimmer all around you. You are entering a world where light is not borrowed from a star, but born from the very chemistry of life itself. Welcome to the bioluminescence ballet. This phenomenon, the production of light by a living organism, is not a rare trick here. It is a fundamental, widespread fact of life. Scientists estimate that more than 75% of all creatures in the mid to deep ocean can produce their own light in some form. Some glow faintly, like distant embers, while others flash in dazzling, complex displays. This light is created through a chemical reaction typically involving two key molecules, a light-emitting compound called luciferin and an enzyme called luciferase. When these two come together with oxygen, they produce a soft, eerie glow that doesn't generate heat, which is why it's often called cold light. The color of this light is almost always blue or green, as these are the wavelengths that travel farthest in water, ensuring maximum visibility in a place where every photon counts. It is a little-known beautiful detail that the light you see here is not just a form of communication or hunting, but a direct expression of life's metabolic processes. The uses of this self-made light are as diverse and creative as the creatures themselves. Let's start with the most obvious one: hunting. In a world with no light, finding a meal is a Herculean task, so some animals have evolved to bring the light with them. The most famous example is the deep-sea anglerfish. The female of the species has a long, fleshy filament that extends from her head, tipped with a glowing lure. She dangles this light in front of her massive jaws, mimicking the movements of small prey. When a curious fish or shrimp drifts in for a closer look, thinking they've found an easy snack, the anglerfish's mouth snaps shut. It's a trap, of course, but a very pretty one. The male anglerfish, by contrast, is tiny and lacks a lure. His entire life is a search for a female, and when he finds one, he bites on and fuses his tissues with hers, becoming a permanent parasitic partner. It's a bizarre and strangely poetic arrangement, but in a realm where mates are few and far between, it's a testament to the fact that making a connection, any connection, is a matter of survival. But light isn't just for attracting dinner. It can also be used to disappear. This might seem counterintuitive. Why would a creature in total darkness want to glow? This brings us to a clever form of camouflage, known as counter-illumination. Animals like the lanternfish or the hatchetfish produce light from their undersides that precisely matches the faint glow of whatever bioluminescence or ambient light trickles down from above. By adjusting their brightness, they effectively erase their own shadow, making them virtually invisible to predators lurking below and looking up. It's like a form of cloaking technology, but squishier and far more elegant. The ongoing academic debate among biologists about the precise mechanisms and neurological control of this light output is a deep and fascinating one. They still grapple with how these creatures so perfectly match the constantly shifting faint light of their surroundings. And then there's communication. In a murky, silent world, light can send a clear, unmistakable signal. Certain species of squid and shrimp use rapid pulses of light to communicate with one another, perhaps to signal mating readiness, territorial boundaries, or even a warning. Each species has its own unique pattern and rhythm a kind of secret language of flashes and flickers. It's not so different from a blinking neon sign, occupied, come closer, or back off. Some displays are even more dramatic. The deep-sea comb jelly, for instance, doesn't just glow. It refracts light through its body in a cascade of rainbow colors, like a living disco ball. Scientists aren't entirely sure whether this is for communication camouflage or just because it's fabulous, but it certainly makes an impression. For all its quiet beauty, bioluminescence can also be a weapon. Some creatures emit sudden, intense bursts of light to confuse predators, a bit like a flashbang in an action movie. Others leave behind glowing clouds like underwater smoke bombs. The deep-sea shrimp, for example, squirts out a glowing blue substance when threatened, creating a luminous distraction that allows it to escape. This is a behavior that has been observed for centuries, though it was not understood until recently. A historical fact of note: ancient mariners and fishermen would sometimes see these light shows and record them as signs of strange sea spirits or glowing ghosts, adding to the lore and mystery of the deep long before science could explain them. Of course, not all light is defensive. Some animals use it offensively. The dragonfish, with its long body and needle-sharp teeth, is a perfect example. Unlike most of its neighbors, it can produce red light, a true rarity in the deep sea. This is a game changer, because most deep-sea animals can't see red light, which means the dragonfish can use it like night vision goggles, illuminating its prey without giving away its own position. It's the silent hunter in a world of blind prey, a master of stealth and surprise. Another wonderful and weird detail is that some deep-sea bacteria glow constantly without being triggered, forming symbiotic relationships with fish and squid that live near vents. The creatures essentially outsource their lighting system to these tiny microbes, housing them in special organs and turning their glow on and off by opening or closing a flap of skin. It's a simple partnership with profound results. And then there's the vampire squid, a creature so elegant and strange it deserves special mention. Despite its name, it doesn't drink blood. When threatened, it can turn itself inside out, cloaking its vulnerable body in a protective webbing while spraying a cloud of bioluminescent mucus into the water. Imagine a ninja throwing a glitter bomb and then vanishing into the night. That's the vampire squid's signature move. It's a theatrical, beautiful, and highly effective defense mechanism that relies entirely on its ability to create light. In this world without sunlight, bioluminescence becomes more than just a tool. It's a language, a form of expression, a way to see to be seen or not to be seen at all. It's a constant, quiet conversation playing out in the dark. A flicker of light might be the only handshake some creatures ever get. As you continue to drift, picture the occasional flash of a squid, the slow hypnotic dance of a glowing siphonophore, or the eerie silent glow of a vent field. Their signals, warnings, and invitations paint the darkness with a gentle brilliance. It's a reminder that even in the darkest places, nature finds a way to shine, not in a dramatic flash of fireworks, but in a quiet, continuous glow. The deep sea, while seemingly lonely and blind, is actually full of signals, gestures, and flickers. There is no moonlight, no dawn, no shadows, but there is light born not from the sun, but from the living breath of the sea itself. And for that, it is all the more beautiful. The academic debate among scientists as to whether these light shows are conscious acts of communication or just automatic reflexes is ongoing, a question that delves into the very nature of intent in the quiet, mysterious minds of these deep dwellers. The bioluminescence ballet fades, but the memory of its silent language lingers. You are now floating in a world that on the surface seems completely devoid of communication. There are no sounds to echo, no vibrant colors to display, no gestures to be seen in the permanent dark. But this perceived silence is a misconception, a bias of a world that communicates with shouts and pictures. Down here, the rules of engagement are rewritten, and the conversation is quieter, more intimate, and far more profound. This is the symphony of silence, where communication isn't about noise or show, but about presence, about sending a message into the vast dark and hoping someone somewhere will hear it. You might think that sound would be a good medium here. After all, sound travels remarkably well in water, much better than it does in air. It travels farther and faster, making the ocean an ideal acoustic environment. For this reason, many surface-dwelling creatures from whales to dolphins rely on sound to hunt, navigate, and communicate over vast distances. But in the true deep sea, things are different. The intense pressure and lack of a swim bladder in many species make it difficult to produce the kinds of complex sounds you might hear closer to the surface. Instead, some deep-sea fish and invertebrates create subtle vibrations or low-frequency pulses. These are not grand symphonies, but more like a quiet knocking on a wall to let someone know you're there. They carry information about territory, mating, readiness, or warnings, but they are a form of communication that is sensed rather than heard. It's a silent conversation, a gentle hum felt through the dense water. But for many, the most elegant solution to the problem of communication in the dark is one we've already met: bioluminescence. While we saw it used for hunting and camouflage, it's a rich language in itself. Picture, if you will, two deep-sea jellyfish drifting toward each other in the blackness. They might flash brief patterns of light, a kind of ethereal Morse code, to signal recognition, warning, or readiness to mate. The exact sequence and brightness of the flashes can serve as a code unique to each species or even each individual. This is a topic of intense academic debate. Are these light displays conscious acts of communication like our words and gestures? Or are they simply automatic biological responses, a form of instinctual signaling? The question touches on the very nature of intelligence in the quiet, mysterious minds of these deep dwellers. Some species take this light-based communication to another level entirely. Certain squid, for instance, can pulse their whole bodies with light, a deep-sea dance party of shimmering patterns. These light displays might be used to startle predators, warn off rivals, or attract a potential mate from afar. It's a very practical form of seduction. No need for smooth pickup lines when you've got flashing disco skin. A fascinating little-known detail is that certain species of flashlight fish have a unique symbiotic relationship with glowing bacteria, which they house in special organs beneath their eyes. They can turn the light on and off by opening and closing a flap of skin, using it like a built-in headlamp with a dimmer switch. This allows them to signal to other flashlight fish a kind of secret conversation where light is the only language. But what if you can't see the light or hear the vibration? In a place where sound and sight are limited, smell, or more precisely, chemical signaling, plays a major role. Many deep-sea animals release pheromones into the water to signal their presence. These chemical trails can drift through the water for long distances, guiding potential mates toward one another in the vast, dark void. Some fish and invertebrates even have specially adapted organs to detect these faint chemical messages with astonishing sensitivity. Imagine being able to follow a trail of perfume through a forest blindfolded and knowing who left it, what they want, and whether you are interested. That's the level of nuance deep-sea creatures often work with. A historical fact worth noting is that the use of chemical signaling in marine life has been theorized since the 19th century. But it wasn't until the development of modern chemistry and advanced sensors that we could truly begin to understand the incredible complexity of these silent messages. Then there are the creatures that communicate with electricity, a strange, almost magical adaptation. A few species of deep-sea fish, like certain types of knifefish and electric eels, generate weak electric fields around their bodies. These fields help them navigate, detect objects, and even communicate with each other. Variations in the frequency or strength of these fields can signal everything from "I'm here" to "back off" to "let's find dinner together." For a creature that cannot see its surroundings, this is an elegant and powerful way to perceive and interact with the world. It's a sensory modality, that is almost impossible for us to comprehend, a kind of sixth sense that allows them to feel the presence and intent of others in a world that would otherwise be a blank canvas. And what about posture? You might think that body language is useless in total darkness, but some animals use touch and physical positioning to communicate. The vampire squid, for example, can use changes in its skin texture and limb positioning to send messages during close encounters. Their skin can change not just color, but also texture and pattern, creating tactile cues as much as visual ones. Some crustaceans wave their antennae, flick their claws, or adopt threatening poses. In the quiet dark, these gestures are often paired with touch or chemical signals, creating a kind of multisensory package. Here I am. This is what I want, and please don't eat me. When it comes to mating, communication becomes even more vital and often more peculiar. Because deep-sea animals are few and far between, finding a mate is a rare and valuable event. Many species have evolved heightened sensitivity to signals from others of their kind. Some use complex bioluminescent courtship displays, while others follow chemical trails for days, a desperate journey in the endless dark. In some extreme cases, like the anglerfish, the solution is permanent attachment, literally fusing with a mate to ensure reproductive success. While that might seem like overkill in an environment where you might encounter another of your species only once in your life, making it count is a matter of survival. It's a testament to the idea that life, no matter how harsh the conditions, will always find a way to connect. In the end, deep-sea communication is about efficiency. It's about getting a message across when the normal tools, vision, sound, and proximity don't work. Whether it's a flash of light, a chemical trail, a silent vibration, or a subtle shift in posture, the creatures of the deep have mastered a quiet, elegant form of connection. So, as you settle deeper into rest, picture a world not of silence, but of signals. A glowing dot pulses once, twice, calling across the black. A gentle current carries a scent invisible, but understood. Somewhere far below, two creatures meet, not with words, but with flickers and swirls, vibrations and patterns. In the deep sea, communication isn't about noise. It's about presence, about attention, about sending a message into the vast dark and hoping someone somewhere will receive it. It whispers in pulses, dances in flashes, and paints the darkness with its gentle glow. You are now in a world where the very concept of a meal is a fleeting luxury. The endless dark and immense pressure have created an environment where food is incredibly scarce. There is no sunlight to support plants, no photosynthesis to produce energy at the base of the food chain. Down here, mealtimes are not a regular event. They are more like rare and unpredictable opportunities. And if you miss one, it might be weeks or even months before the next snack floats by. And yet, life persists. From the tiniest glowing plankton to the strange, slow giants of the abyss, the creatures of the deep have found clever, often astonishing ways to survive in a place where a good meal is anything but guaranteed. Welcome to the Patience in the Pantry, where the most successful creatures are not the fastest, but the ones who have mastered the art of waiting. Let's begin with the most important concept in deep-sea dining: marine snow. This might sound like a charming underwater holiday scene, but marine snow is not made of tiny frozen water crystals. It's made of tiny bits of death. Marine snow is the name given to the endless shower of organic material that drifts down from the ocean's upper sunlit layers. This includes dead plankton, bits of algae, fecal pellets, discarded mucus, and fragments of dead animals, all slowly sinking flake by flake into the abyss. It's as if the entire upper ocean is constantly shedding, and those little flakes are all that many deep-sea creatures have to eat. Each flake of marine snow might be microscopic, but over time it adds up. In some areas, it settles thickly on the seafloor, creating a blanket of nutrients that supports a surprising variety of life. Worms, brittle stars, sea cucumbers, and other scavengers crawl across the sediment, sweeping up particles with feathery tentacles, sticky arms, or even mucus nets. They are the deep sea's quiet custodians, cleaning up what the surface world leaves behind. A little-known fact is that this marine snow also plays a vital role in the global carbon cycle, transporting vast amounts of carbon from the atmosphere to the seafloor. Where it is stored for millennia, a quiet service performed by a host of unseen creatures. But marine snow is more than just leftovers. It's the backbone of the deep-sea food web. Everything starts with it. Tiny filter feeders consume the snow, small predators eat them, and so on up the chain. It's a slow and quiet kind of life, but incredibly efficient. Nothing is wasted. Sometimes, though, something much bigger falls from above. Enter the whale fall. When a whale dies near the surface and its body eventually sinks, it becomes an enormous nutrient-rich bonanza for the deep. A single whale can provide food for an entire ecosystem for decades. At first, large scavengers like sharks, hagfish, and giant amphipods arrive to feast on the soft tissue. Next comes the enrichment opportunist phase, where smaller animals like worms and crustaceans burrow into the sediment around the bones, feeding on the oily remains. Then finally comes the sulfophilic phase, where specialized bacteria break down the lipids within the bones, releasing hydrogen sulfide, a chemical that supports a whole new kind of ecosystem, chemosynthetic organisms. It's a cycle of decay turned into life, a last act of generosity from the whale long after its final breath. A historical detail that adds to the wonder: the first whale fall was discovered by scientists in 1987. But the concept of these events has existed in folklore for centuries, with tales of sea giants returning to the deep in a final glorious cascade. Whale falls are rare, of course. Not every creature can count on a giant mammal dropping from the sky. Most must rely on far more modest meals and on extremely efficient metabolisms. Many deep-sea animals have incredibly slow digestion. A meal that would last a surface-dwelling animal a day might last a deep-sea creature a week or more. Some animals can go for months without eating at all. This is partly due to their slow metabolisms, but also to their lifestyle. Most deep-sea creatures don't move much. They conserve energy by staying still and letting the food come to them. Ambush predators are common here. These are animals that sit motionless for hours or even days, waiting for something edible to wander into striking range. The tripod fish is a great example. It plants itself on the seafloor, balancing on three long stiff fins like a three-legged stool. It faces into the current and uses long sensitive fin rays to detect the slightest vibrations of prey drifting by. When a tasty morsel comes along, it strikes with surprising speed. It's not the most glamorous way to feed, but in a place where energy is scarce, patience is a powerful weapon. Other ambush predators include deep-sea jellyfish, which drift with tentacles outstretched like floating nets, and the infamous anglerfish, which uses its bioluminescent lure to attract prey directly into its mouth. It's like going fishing, but you are the fishing rod, the bait, and the hook all in one. Scavenging is another key survival strategy. Some animals actively patrol the seafloor, sniffing out any edible material they can find. Others, like certain species of amphipods and isopods, are more opportunistic, clinging to larger animals and feeding on whatever scraps they encounter. It's not glamorous work, but in the deep sea, beggars can't be choosers. Some deep-sea creatures feed in ways that seem almost magical. The Venus flytrap anemone, for instance, resembles its terrestrial namesake, with long tentacle-covered arms arranged in a circular trap. When something brushes against it, anything from a shrimp to a bit of detritus, the anemone snaps shut slowly, digesting its meal in eerie silence. One of the strangest feeding adaptations in the deep sea comes from bone-eating worms known as osedacs, or more poetically, zombie worms. These worms lack mouths, stomachs, or intestines. Instead, they grow root-like structures that penetrate bones, usually from whale falls, and absorb nutrients through symbiotic bacteria living in their tissues. It's less like eating and more like ghostly parasitic gardening. The academic debate among scientists as to whether these worms evolved this trait in response to specific events, like the rise of large marine mammals, or if it's a far more ancient adaptation that has simply found a new food source, is a fascinating and ongoing discussion. But for all the hunting, scavenging, and filtering, one of the most remarkable things about deep-sea feeding is how little food there really is and how much life continues regardless. The ocean floor is not covered in abundant food sources. It's sparse, patchy, often barren. And yet, it is home to a kaleidoscope of life forms, each uniquely adapted to make the most of whatever they can find. Some rely on symbiosis, partnering with bacteria or other organisms to share the burdens of digestion and survival. Others focus on timing, appearing only when food is available and vanishing when it is not. A few species even go dormant, entering a state of suspended animation until better conditions return. In this strange and unforgiving world, food is not just fuel. It's a puzzle, a chase, a mystery, and every creature solves it in a different way. So as you lie here relaxing and drifting off, picture the slow drift of marine snow falling gently through the water. Imagine the stillness of the seafloor, broken only by the soft movements of a sea cucumber or the whisper of a squid's fin. Life moves slowly here, but it never stops. Every flake is a feast, every scrap a treasure, and somehow in this silent, dark ocean, life keeps going, nourished by the smallest gifts from above. It's a beautiful reminder that in a world of scarcity, a little bit of patience can be worth more than all the riches in the world. Having observed the quiet, patient hunt for a meal, you now turn your attention to the beings themselves. Down here, the very architecture of life is different. It's not about strength or speed, but about a kind of soft, resilient engineering. In this world of immense pressure, bone, muscle, and a rigid skeleton would be a liability, an inflexible structure that would simply shatter under the immense weight of the ocean above. The creatures you now float among are not just surviving. They are living fortresses, marvels of biological design, perfectly tuned to their environment. Let's begin with a creature you may think you know, but you've likely only seen in a state of deep distress: the blobfish. On the surface, it's a sad, gelatinous caricature, but in its natural habitat, thousands of meters below it, looks perfectly normal. Its body, made of a gelatinous mass with a density slightly less than water, allows it to float effortlessly just above the seafloor without expending energy to swim. It's a bit like a living air cushion. When brought to the surface, the change in pressure causes its body to collapse into the sad, saggy face that has become an internet meme. This isn't its true form. It's a result of a phenomenon called barotrauma. It's a powerful and humbling lesson. You cannot judge a creature by its appearance in an alien environment. The key to survival in this pressure-filled world is often a lack of hard parts. Many deep-sea animals have soft, gelatinous bodies with very few bones or air pockets. The graceful vampire squid, the slow-moving sea pig, and countless species of deep-dwelling jellyfish all share this characteristic. Their bodies are made of a water-like substance that is incompressible, allowing them to remain intact under pressures that would flatten a submarine. They are not built to resist the pressure. They are built to be in perfect harmony with it. It's a different kind of strength, a strength of flexibility and surrender. The cold also plays a major role in shaping these bodies. We learned that the average temperature of the deep ocean hovers just above freezing. For land creatures, this would spell disaster, as cold temperatures cause chemical reactions to slow and biological processes to grind to a halt. But deep-sea life has adapted with cold-adapted enzymes that have more flexible structures than their warm-water counterparts, allowing them to continue functioning at low temperatures. A fascinating little-known fact is that these same enzymes tend to be more fragile and break down easily if the temperature rises too much. This is a subtle but important reason why deep-sea species are so vulnerable to climate change. A few degrees of warming can be catastrophic for creatures whose entire biology is a finely tuned machine built for the cold. Beyond the challenges of pressure and cold, Some deep-sea environments present an even greater test toxic chemicals. Near the hydrothermal vents we'll visit later. Life must contend not only with immense pressure and scalding heat, but also with high concentrations of hydrogen sulfide and heavy metals. Here, the fortresses take on a different form. The scaly-foot snail, for example, is a gastropod that lives near vents in the Indian Ocean. It has a foot covered in iron sulfide plates, which it sources from the minerals in the vent fluids. It's the only animal known to use iron sulfide as a structural material, effectively growing its own metal armor to protect itself from predators and the toxic environment. It's an almost fantastical detail, a creature of flesh and blood walking around in a suit of natural iron. The academic debate about the evolutionary origins of these unique body plans is a vibrant one. Do these adaptations represent an ancient blueprint, a lineage of creatures that have remained largely unchanged for millions of years? Or are they a result of rapid specialized evolution in response to extreme conditions? The truth is likely a combination of both, a testament to the incredible creativity of natural selection. Creatures like the coelacanth, a fish once thought to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs, still swim the deep rocky slopes of ocean islands, looking much the same as their ancient ancestors from over 400 million years ago. This historical fact, the rediscovery of the coelacanth in 1938, was a game-changer for evolutionary biology, proving that the deep sea is a kind of time capsule where ancient forms of life can quietly persist. Another example of a living fossil is the horseshoe crab, whose ancestors date back more than 450 million years. While it usually lives in shallower waters, its slow metabolism, sturdy exoskeleton, and a preference for low-light environments share many characteristics with deep-sea creatures. A fun and weird detail is that its blue blood, rich in a copper-based compound, is incredibly sensitive to bacterial toxins, so much so that it is used in modern medicine to test the safety of vaccines and surgical equipment. A creature older than trees is helping to save human lives today. But perhaps the most striking example of a living fortress is the Hadal snailfish. We briefly encountered this creature in our first descent. Living at depths of over 8,000 meters, it has no scales, no swim bladder, and incredibly thin gelatinous bones. Its skin is translucent, its body is nearly fluid, and yet it thrives under pressure that would obliterate almost anything else. Scientists studying these fish have found unique proteins in their cells that act like natural antifreeze and pressure stabilizers. They are not just tolerating the pressure. Their bodies are built to function perfectly because of it. It's an exquisite piece of biological engineering, a living example of how the most extreme conditions can give rise to the most perfect and resilient forms of life. These creatures, in their quiet perfection, remind us that there is no single, correct way to be alive. Our bodies, with our rigid bones and intricate organs, are simply one solution to the problem of existence. The bodies of deep-sea creatures are another, and in many ways, they are a more elegant one. They are not fighting the ocean. They are flowing with it. They are not resisting the pressure. They are becoming part of it. This is a profound and gentle lesson, one that you can carry with you as you drift further into this sleepy realm. So as you continue your journey, let go of the idea that a creature must be strong in the way we understand it. Down here, strength is not a matter of force, but of harmony. It is found in a gelatinous body, in a translucent skin, and in the quiet, resilient heart of a world that has mastered the art of being. As you continue to float, you begin to perceive the deep not just as a space, but as a vast, living archive. The creatures you encounter are not simply inhabitants. They are the guardians of the deep, silent sentinels who have been here for millions of years, holding a quiet vigil over the ocean's history. They are living links to a time before our species existed, before the continents shifted, and before the dinosaurs roamed. In the stillness and consistency of the deep, time moves differently, and evolution, while still present, unfolds at a glacial pace, preserving forms that have long since vanished from the surface world. Perhaps the most famous of these living relics is the coelacanth. For millions of years, scientists believed this ancient fish with its distinctive lobed fins that resemble primitive legs had gone extinct with the dinosaurs. It was a textbook case of a missing link in the fossil record. But then, in 1938, a coelacanth was pulled from a fishing net off the coast of South Africa, alive and well. This historical discovery was a monumental event shattering the notion that the deep sea was a static environment where life ceased to evolve. It proved that the ocean's depths were a kind of time capsule, a refuge for ancient forms of life that simply had no reason to change. The academic debate that followed about whether the coelacanth represents a true stasis in evolution or simply a very slow, subtle form of adaptation continues to this day, a testament to the mysteries held in its very existence. But the coelacanth is not alone in its ancient lineage. The deep sea is home to many such creatures. Consider the Greenland shark, a mysterious creature that lives in the frigid deep waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. It grows at a glacial pace, just a few centimeters per year, and can live for hundreds of years. Scientists estimate that some Greenland sharks can live for over 400 years, making them the longest-lived vertebrates known to science. Imagine that a creature that was swimming through icy waters when Shakespeare was writing his plays is still alive today, a quiet witness to centuries of human history. Their incredible longevity and slow metabolism are a direct result of the frigid waters they inhabit, a perfect example of a life lived in deep time. Another little-known guardian is the sea sponge. You might think of these as simple, unassuming animals, and in a way they are. They have no brains, no nervous systems, and no organs. They are simply filter feeders, quietly siphoning nutrients from the water. But some deep-sea sponges, such as the glass sponges of the Southern Ocean, have been dated to be over 10,000 years old. They are among the oldest living animals on the planet. Their delicate glassy skeletons a testament to a life lived with extreme patience. They are silent sentinels standing watch over the ocean floor. Their slow growth, a kind of geologic clock. These ancient creatures and their unique ecosystems play a vital role in the global carbon cycle, acting as a kind of planetary lung. The deep sea is a massive carbon sink, absorbing and storing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for centuries. This process is driven by the very creatures we have been discussing. Marine snow, the gentle rain of organic matter from above, carries carbon to the deep, and the creatures that consume it, from the tiniest microbe to the largest scavenger, are all part of a system that keeps our climate in balance. This is a crucial function, and it's performed by a quiet, unseen army of guardians who ask for nothing in return. The academic debate about the resilience of these deep-sea ecosystems is particularly urgent today. For centuries, it was assumed that the deep sea was too remote to be affected by human activity. But we now know this is not the case. The effects of climate change, pollution, and deep-sea mining are beginning to ripple through this ancient world. The very traits that have allowed these creatures to survive for so long, their slow growth, their long lifespans, and their low reproductive rates, also make them incredibly vulnerable to disturbance. A deep-sea coral reef that took 1,000 years to grow can be destroyed in moments by careless activity, and it may never have a chance to recover. The question of how to protect these fragile ancient ecosystems is one of the most pressing scientific and ethical dilemmas of our time. One of the more unusual and weird examples of these guardians is the vent shrimp. These shrimp, which live in dense swarms around hydrothermal vents, are completely blind. They have no eyes. Instead, they have a light-detecting patch on their backs that can sense the faint, ghostly infrared glow of the superheated vent fluids. They use this sense to stay close to the vents, their source of food and energy, but not so close that they are cooked alive. They are the living thermometers of the deep, a perfect example of how evolution finds a way to adapt to the most extreme of circumstances. The fact that an animal has evolved to see heat rather than light is a little mind-bending, isn't it? The deep sea is also a record keeper, a library of natural history. The layers of sediment that accumulate on the seafloor act as a natural archive, preserving microscopic fossils, chemical signatures, and environmental clues going back millions of years. By examining these layers, researchers can reconstruct past climates, mass extinctions, and even the movement of continents. This deep-sea archive has revealed moments of extraordinary change, catastrophic asteroid impacts, dramatic shifts in ocean currents, and massive releases of methane that warmed the planet. But between these dramatic episodes are long periods of stillness recorded in tiny layers of dust and diatoms waiting quietly to be read. So, as you continue to drift, let your mind rest on these ancient, slow-moving creatures. They are not just strange curiosities. They are a vital part of our planet's history and its future. They are the quiet guardians of a world we are only just beginning to understand. Their existence is a reminder that life doesn't need to be fast or loud or dramatic to be powerful. It just needs patience, resilience, and a quiet, persistent will to be. They remind us that there is a kind of profound beauty in simply enduring in the steady, unhurried heartbeat of a world that has always been there beneath the waves waiting. You have seen the quiet guardians and living fortresses creatures that seem perfectly isolated in their dark, still world. But the deep sea is not an island. It is part of a vast, interconnected planetary system, a massive, slow-moving circulatory network that links every ocean on Earth. This is the ocean's heartbeat, a global engine driven by differences in temperature and salinity. And it is this heartbeat that brings life-giving oxygen and nutrients to the deepest, most remote parts of our planet. You might not feel it down here, but the water around you is in constant, deliberate motion. This global system is what scientists call the thermohaline circulation, a name that comes from thermo for heat and haline for salt. It's a kind of oceanic conveyor belt, a process so slow and vast that it can take 1,000 years for a single parcel of water to complete the journey. The process begins in the polar regions, primarily in the North Atlantic and near Antarctica. Here, cold air chills the surface water, causing it to become denser. As this water freezes, it leaves behind its salt, making the surrounding water even saltier and even denser. This heavy, cold, salty water then sinks, plunging into the deep abyss. This sinking motion is the engine of the entire system, a massive, slow-moving waterfall that pulls surface water down into the depths and sets the entire conveyor belt in motion. From the poles, this deep, cold water travels along the seafloor, carrying with it a fresh supply of oxygen that was absorbed from the atmosphere when the water was still at the surface. It snakes its way through the world's ocean basins, a slow, dark river flowing beneath the sunlit surface. As it travels, it gradually warms and mixes with other water masses, a process that can take centuries. Eventually, it reaches a point where it begins to rise, a process called upwelling, bringing cold, nutrient-rich water back to the surface. This upwelling is what fuels some of the most productive fishing grounds on the planet. It is a vital and beautiful paradox. The cold, deep, dark parts of the ocean are essential for the warm, sunlit, productive parts. This immense, slow-moving current is a crucial part of our planet's climate system. It helps regulate global temperatures by transporting heat from the equator toward the poles. It's a quiet, unseen force that influences our weather, our climate, and our food supply. A little-known fact is that this circulation also plays a critical role in distributing deep-sea creatures. Scientists have long debated how species living in deep-sea trenches, which are often separated by vast stretches of shallower seafloor, manage to colonize new areas. The prevailing academic argument is that these slow-moving currents, like a deep, silent taxi service, transport larvae and eggs across thousands of miles, allowing life to persist and spread even in the most isolated of environments. It's a profound testament to the interconnectedness of our planet. A historical note on this phenomenon: the existence of deep ocean currents was theorized as early as the 19th century. But it was not until the mid-20th century, with the development of more advanced oceanographic tools and tracer chemicals, that scientists were able to truly map and measure the scale and speed of this planetary circulation. It was a groundbreaking discovery that fundamentally changed our understanding of the ocean and its role in regulating our planet's climate. The idea that a single drop of water could travel from the surface of the North Atlantic to the bottom of the Indian Ocean, taking hundreds of years to complete the journey, was a poetic and scientific revelation. But this system, this quiet, reliable heartbeat, is not invulnerable. It is now facing a new and significant threat: climate change. As global temperatures rise, the polar regions are warming and the formation of sea ice is slowing down. This in turn reduces the amount of cold, dense, salty water that sinks into the deep, a process that could slow or even stop the thermohaline circulation. This has been a topic of intense academic debate, with some scientists raising the possibility of a shutdown of the conveyor belt, which could lead to dramatic and unpredictable shifts in global climate patterns. While the full extent of the impact is still being studied, the mere possibility highlights just how fragile and interconnected our planet's systems truly are. The deep sea, once thought to be a remote and static environment, is now on the front lines of climate change. The currents also play a critical role in bringing oxygen to the deep. In the first few kilometers below the surface, oxygen levels often drop to near zero, creating vast oxygen minimum zones. These are oceanic deserts where life struggles to survive. But the deep cold water from the poles, rich in oxygen, flows beneath these zones, providing a lifeline to the creatures of the deep. It's a quiet, constant resupply, a testament to the ocean's ability to sustain itself even in the most challenging of circumstances. Without this slow, persistent flow, much of the deep sea would be anoxic, completely deprived of oxygen, and uninhabitable. So as you rest here, let your mind drift with the current. Picture the slow-moving rivers of the deep, carrying a silent cargo of oxygen, heat, and nutrients to every corner of the planet. It's a reminder that even in the greatest stillness, there is movement. Even in the deepest darkness, there is a connection to the sunlit world above. The ocean's heartbeat is a quiet rhythm, one that we are only just beginning to listen to and understand. But it is a rhythm that has been beating for millennia, a slow and steady pulse that sustains all life from the surface to the abyss. The deep is not a separate realm. It is the vital beating heart of our planet. You have drifted through an ancient world, a realm of profound patience and quiet brilliance. You have witnessed the ocean's heartbeat and felt its gentle, consistent rhythm. For all its remoteness, for all the immensity of the water above you, the deep sea is not immune to our presence. In fact, it's already feeling the effects of human activity in ways that are quiet, subtle, and often devastating. As you float here, you begin to see not just the creatures and the currents, but the footprints of mankind, the quiet traces of our existence that have found their way to the deepest, darkest parts of our planet. Let's begin with something simple: a plastic bottle. A single bottle dropped on a beach or washed into a stream finds its way into the ocean. From there, it begins a slow, silent descent, falling past fish and jellyfish, past coral and shrimp, until it settles hundreds or even thousands of meters down on the seafloor. It may take decades to break down, and even then, it never truly disappears. It just becomes smaller, breaking into microplastics that persist in the ecosystem indefinitely. Scientists have found plastic bags in the Mariana Trench, microplastics in deep-sea sediments in the guts of amphipods, and even inside some of the most remote fish ever caught. It's a sad, quiet truth that our waste has found a way to invade even this untouched world. The academic debate about the long-term biological effects of microplastics on deep-sea ecosystems is still in its early stages, with researchers grappling with how these tiny fragments are affecting the health and behavior of creatures we barely understand. But plastics are just one piece of a larger problem. The deep sea is also a graveyard for lost fishing gear, nets, lines, and traps that continue to catch and kill animals long after they have been abandoned. This phenomenon, known as ghost fishing, creates silent, invisible death traps. A little-known fact is that these discarded nets can sometimes become a new kind of reef, a tangled mass of plastic that provides shelter for some creatures while simultaneously ensnaring and killing others. It's a strange and tragic testament to our impact a kind of harmful accidental architecture. Whole populations of deep-sea fish crabs and octopuses can be affected by a single discarded net. Beyond the debris, there is a more direct form of human activity. Deep-sea mining is a rising threat. The deep-sea floor, particularly around hydrothermal vents and abyssal plains, is rich in mineral resources like cobalt, nickel, and manganese. As the demand for these metals grows for use in batteries and electronics, companies are turning their gaze downward to the deep. Giant machines are being developed to plow the seafloor, churning up sediment and destroying delicate habitats that took thousands of years to form. A historical note of interest: the first serious discussions about deep-sea mining began in the 1960s, a time when the resource race was in full swing. But it is only in recent years that the technology has made it a viable and therefore immediate threat. The academic debate about whether these minerals are worth the environmental cost is a fierce one, pitting the need for renewable energy technologies against the conservation of the last unexplored wilderness on Earth. And then there is the silent, insidious effect of climate change. As global temperatures rise, the ocean absorbs an enormous amount of heat and carbon dioxide. This leads to ocean warming and ocean acidification, which makes it harder for animals to build shells and skeletons. Deep-sea corals, which grow at an incredibly slow pace and form the backbone of many seafloor communities, are especially vulnerable. A reef that took 10,000 years to grow could be undone by just a few decades of changing chemistry. Furthermore, the ocean's great currents, the heartbeat we just discussed, are beginning to shift. As the poles warm, the flow of cold oxygen-rich water into the deep is slowing down, leading to expanding oxygen minimum zones, vast regions where life struggles to survive due to a lack of breathable water. This is a subtle but profound change, a slow-motion catastrophe that may not be apparent to the human eye, but which is being felt by every creature in the deep. Even noise pollution is finding its way down. As humans build more ships, drill more wells, and develop more underwater infrastructure, the deep sea is no longer a realm of perfect silence. Sound travels farther and faster in water than in air, and the engines, propellers, and industrial activities of the surface world can be heard even in the darkest trenches. For creatures that rely on silent vibrations or sensitive chemical signaling to navigate and communicate, this can be a serious disruption. It's a kind of constant low-grade hum that has become a permanent feature of their world, a kind of unwanted background noise in their otherwise quiet lives. It is a sobering thought, but not a hopeless one. In recent years, awareness of deep-sea conservation has grown. Scientists, governments, and organizations are working together to create marine protected areas, zones where fishing, mining, and industrial activity are restricted or banned. The goal is simple: to explore with care and to discover with respect. Because the deep sea, while strange and remote, is not separate from us. It is part of our planet. It influences our climate, our weather, our food chains. It stores carbon cycles, nutrients, and holds secrets we're only just beginning to understand. Its silence is not an invitation for exploitation. It's a reminder of how much we still don't know. So as you lie here, let your mind rest on these silent footprints. They are not a sign of our dominance, but of our presence. And with that presence comes a profound responsibility. The deep sea cannot speak for itself, but perhaps as we begin to understand it better, we can speak on its behalf. The knowledge we have gained, the discoveries we have made, are not just for our own curiosity. They are a call to action. Because beneath the surface of our world is another world, ancient and fragile, still holding its breath. Let's make sure it always has room to breathe. We have journeyed far. We've descended through the sunlit zones and the twilight layers, experienced the crushing pressure of the midnight depths, and witnessed the bioluminescent ballet. We've learned about the ocean's heartbeat and seen the quiet traces of our own presence. But for all that we have seen and learned, you must know this: our journey has only covered a small flickering part of the story. The vast majority of the deep sea, over 80% of it, remains unexplored, unobserved, and unvisited. We have only read the first few pages of an epic that is still being written. Welcome to the unwritten chapters, a realm of infinite possibility and endless wonder. For most of human history, the deep sea was a great blank space on our maps. It was a place of myth, and for good reason. Without the technology to explore it, it was an unknowable void. A historical fact that is both humbling and inspiring is that we have better maps of the surface of Mars than we do of the bottom of our own ocean. It was not until the mid-20th century that technology began to catch up with our curiosity. The pioneering dives of the bathyscaphe Trieste in 1960 proved that humans could reach the deepest part of the ocean, but a single 4-hour journey could only give us the briefest of glimpses. Since then, the tools of exploration have become our eyes and hands in the deep. The development of remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, has revolutionized oceanography. These robotic explorers can descend into the deep and send back real-time video, collect samples, and explore areas far beyond the reach of human divers. They are equipped with robotic arms, high-resolution cameras, and sensors that can measure temperature, pressure, and chemical composition. Unlike manned submersibles, ROVs don't need to keep humans alive, which means they can dive deeper and stay down longer. They are the eyes and hands of ocean scientists, reaching into places no human has ever been. It's a testament to our ingenuity, a little piece of us venturing into the dark to shine a light on the unknown. And every time we do, we find something new. In recent decades, we have discovered entire ecosystems based on chemosynthesis around hydrothermal vents, new species of giant squid, and deep-sea coral reefs thriving in complete darkness. A little-known fact is that some deep-sea research is conducted using baited landers, which are simple frames with a camera and bait that are dropped to the seafloor and left to record. The footage they send back has revealed creatures and behaviors that were previously unknown, a kind of simple, elegant experiment that can be conducted anywhere in the world. The academic debate about whether these new discoveries represent a true shift in our understanding of life, or simply a filling in of the vast blank spaces on our map, is a fascinating one. A philosophical question about the very nature of discovery. The future of deep-sea exploration is a tapestry of new ideas and new technologies. Projects are underway to create high-resolution maps of the entire seafloor, revealing underwater mountains, valleys, and canyons that rival anything found on land. Some projects aim to catalog every species living in the abyss, an enormous task that would require decades of work. There are even ideas for deep-sea observatories, long-term installations that could monitor underwater activity in real time. These stations would track seismic events, changes in ocean chemistry, and the slow dance of deep-sea life. It's like putting a telescope on the ocean floor and watching the stars of the underworld. The greatest promise of these unwritten chapters is not just what we might find, but what it might tell us about ourselves. What secrets about the origins of life might be held in a hydrothermal vent? What medical and technological breakthroughs might be hidden in the biology of a pressure-resistant creature? And what does it say about us as a species that we are so compelled to explore this last, most difficult frontier on our own planet? The answers are not yet known. The great unwritten chapters are waiting for us. As you continue to float, you might find something deeply comforting about this. In a world that often feels fully mapped, where every corner seems to have been explored and every story told, the deep sea is a reminder that mystery and wonder are still very much alive. It's a vast, silent space that holds more questions than answers, and in that uncertainty, there is a kind of beautiful, peaceful freedom. So, as you feel yourself sinking into a final quiet rest, know that you are leaving a world of unwritten stories. The deep sea is a realm of possibility, a place where the improbable becomes the everyday. It is a world where the rules are different, where life is slow but resilient, and where the most profound secrets are whispered in flashes of light and chemical traces. The great dark ocean is still out there waiting, and in your dreams, perhaps you can be one of the first to explore it. And now, as our journey through the deep ocean comes to a close, you can feel the final stillness. Let go of everything you've been holding on to. Let the images of glowing creatures, slow currents, and living fortresses drift gently away. There's no pressure, no darkness, just peace. You've traveled through an unfamiliar world, and now you're returning to the safest place inside your own mind. Let your mind wander through dreams. Maybe you'll find yourself swimming with anglerfish or gliding past ancient coral reefs. Whatever the dream is, let it take you far, far away. The ocean of the imagination is larger than any ocean on Earth. Let yourself drift in peace and know that the wonder never ends.